Big welcome to a special edition of Jeremy Kyle Investigates, and tonight it's set to be a right royal affair. Yes, the royal family are often in the news, and let's be honest, not always for the right reasons. Behind the waves and the smiles, there's been divorce, scandal, gossip, and more tabloid headlines than you can shake a sceptre at. But one shining light over the last few years, my friends, has been the wonderful Princess of Wales, Kate Middleton. As a mother, a wife, a charity patron and more, her grace, devotion and charm has not only captivated the British public, but the entire globe. This is Jeremy Kyle Investigates Iron Kate. Cinderella, Jasmine, Snow White and Pocahontas. For many young girls, being a fairy tale princess truly is the stuff of dreams. But for the commoner Catherine Middleton, it was a dream come true. Since Charles ascended to the throne, our Kate has settled nicely into a new role as the Princess of Wales and has even struck comparisons to the Iron Lady herself, who was known for her uncompromising leadership style. But step aside Maggie, because Kate has come a long way since the shy 19-year-old who first caught the eye of the heir apparent at St Andrews back in 2001, where she was given the nickname Weighty Katie, because let's just say for Katie, the weighty was well worthy. Growing up in the rolling hills of Bucklebury, Berkshire, the Duchess had already acquired quite the array of hidden talents, some well documented, such as her photography skills and piano playing, and some not. And I'm going to have to take a deep breath for this, my friends, because get this, she can also scuba dive 30 metres deep, was the captain of a high school hockey team, is a keen tennis player, a great skier, is said to be an excellent cook / chutney maker, has showed off an impressive sign language skill, put her 2-1 in art history to good use by sketching a church onto the service booklet for her younger sister Pippa's wedding, is a keen beekeeper and even hands out jars of honey during her royal visits, gardens like a ninja, rows like an Olympian, and she can also knit for England. Which has put her in good stead because the media have called her impact on British and American fashion the Kate Middleton effect, with Time listing her as one of the 100 most influential people in the world in 2011, 2012 and 2013, and as a finalist in 2018.
Thank you all for your dedication to this important cause.
And she does all of that whilst also holding patronage with over 20 charitable and military organisations, including the Anna Freud Centre, Action for Children, Sports Aid, the National Portrait Gallery, and projects through the Royal Foundation that focus on issues surrounding early childhood care, addiction, art, and mental health.
Do you struggle with mum guilt for having the Jaguar?
Yes, absolutely. I think anyone who doesn't as a mother is actually lying.
Becoming a mother also had a profound effect on Kate, and she often speaks about the guilt she feels as a working mum. Not only that, but she's also had to deal with the fallout of Harry and Meghan deciding to quit royal life. And she's also quite the pro at handling the odd royal gap.
Thank you so much.
She's not just a 21st century princess, but a true real-life queen-in-waiting worthy of a fairy tale happily ever after. But with her popularity growing by the day, will Iron Kate now overshadow the king and queen? Yes, Kate's evolution has now solidified her as a vital part of the modern monarchy, but how did we get here? The eldest of 3 kids to Michael and Carol Middleton, a former flight dispatcher and flight attendant, young Kate was privately educated at the 37 grand a year Marlborough College, funded by her parents' business Party Pieces. This was a mail-order company founded in 1987 by her mother that sold party supplies right up until earlier this year, when it hit the headlines after collapsing into administration after losing millions of pounds. Now, something we touch more on later in the show, but that aside, her big family support network, including her siblings, along with her education, certainly put her in good stead to navigate becoming part of the most famous firm in the world. Here's what TalkTV Royal editor Sarah Hewson had to say about it when we talked about the young royal.
Yes, Catherine Elizabeth Middleton, born in Berkshire in 1982, but she actually spent some of her early years in Jordan, in Amman, there with her parents, Carol and Michael Middleton. She attended nursery there, and not long ago she took her own children there to see where she had spent some of those formative years. The family then returned to Berkshire, to Bucklebury, and Kate very much put the village of Bucklebury in Berkshire on the map. And she attended St Andrews School in Pangbourne. She then went on to Down House, but actually she was only there for a short time. She was unhappy there. She was said to have been bullied during her time there and moved on to Marlborough College, where she was much happier. She was a very sporty student, played tennis, played hockey, for example. But ultimately, they are a very, very close family. Carol and Michael, her parents, and her siblings, Pippa and James, Kate being the eldest. They were very close as they grew up, and that has remained. And that is fundamental to the way in which Kate brings up her own children. They're very much a part of the extended Middleton family, and the Middletons have been welcomed into the royal family and play a key role in raising their grandchildren. Her parents are self-made. They set up their business Party Pieces. They started off, her mum as an air stewardess, her father as a pilot. That led to some snobbery when Kate met William, because she was a commoner and not one of the aristocracy, not one of the perhaps chosen families that people might have expected. But actually, for Prince William, what he has found in the Middletons is the normality, that family unit that he craved and that he hasn't had, and that is so important for his children.
Thank you, Sarah. Joining me to discuss this is royal correspondent Jennie Bond, former BBC royal correspondent Michael Cole, and the royal editor himself has deigned us with his present, Rob Jobson. Thank you, gentlemen and lady. Let's start with you, Michael, if we can. We heard from Sarah there that this, and I'm a massive fan of this lady. I think she is the future of the British monarchy, and I think that what she manages to do and has done is take a normal, they would say, commoner lifestyle and prove herself invaluable to the firm. She was bullied as a child, and you look at some of the work she does now. She had to switch schools. That's been brought into the job she's doing now as Princess of Wales.
Jeremy, you know, if we went into William Morris, the Hollywood talent agency, which has just signed up Harry and Meghan, and we said to them, we are casting a film and we want the perfect princess for that film, they would cast somebody almost exactly like Kate Middleton. She looks good, she sounds good, she's highly intelligent, she's very, very motivated, and she didn't, as you've made clear in your introduction, she's not posh and she's not from a privileged background. Her parents have had to struggle. They came back from Jordan. They lived in a quite small house. And she had her difficulties at school until she got to Marlborough College, where she fitted in a lot more. She's terrific because everybody's looking at her and they're ready to find fault, but they find no fault. And remember, the important thing is this. The first time in history, the heir to the throne was allowed to choose his own bride, and he chose well. I
think this is really interesting. If I can bring Jennie, and Jennie, thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight. It's interesting. Michael makes a really salient point. It was the first time in British, I think, royal history. We talk about Andrew and Coo Stark. We talk about, you know, Princess Margaret, Group Captain Peter Townsend, the great love story. It wasn't allowed. This was, and it's certainly proven, I think, a masterstroke. And the public, she resonates with them, doesn't she, Jennie? Resonates with them.
Oh, she absolutely does. And I think a huge amount of it comes from her childhood. And this is why she's so invested in her projects for early learning and early development. She knows how vital that is for you as you grow up. And she had this wonderful, solid background, these parents that she adored, these hardworking parents, as Michael said, who, when she was just 5, started a business in their kitchen. So she learnt to be industrious from that, and she is very dedicated to her job. It's very hard to find fault with her. Why would be? I think she's the real deal. She really is.
I think it's true. And Rob, just picking up on something Jennie and Michael said, it's the relatability, isn't it? I mean, taking the photographs of her kids on their birthdays and anniversaries, herself playing the piano in that amazing feature with the big thing at the castle. But there's something intrinsically normal about her, isn't there?
Well, there is. I'd just like to say that I think that Charles the King did marry the woman that he wanted. He picked Camilla. So she's the first
Eventually.
time. Eventually.
In the end.
Eventually.
But yeah, she is. I mean, when you see her on tours and things, she's excellent at what she does. She's relatable. She's great with kids. All the things, as you say, if you'd gone to central casting, you'd have really done a lot harder to find someone as good as her. But I think the one thing she does that is special is that she gives the Prince of Wales, Prince William, a lot of confidence. And He wasn't the most confident and gifted of speakers. He's now much better at doing that. He wasn't the most, even though people sort of said, he's just the same as his mum, he wasn't that gifted at being interrelatable with other people. She has given him a lot of confidence.
Before the old man passed, and he worked for the royal family, he used to say to me that she reminds him of the Queen Mother and the confidence and the belief that she gave to her husband, who acceded to the throne and had the problems with his speech. The King's Speech is the famous film. And if you look at Kate, she adores him, she works hard, she's a great mother, she looks great, but more than that, the relatability comes from the normal upbringing.
Now, you mentioned the Queen Mother, who was tough as teak.
Oh, yes.
As tough as teak. She may have looked like a meringue, but inside she was steel. Now, Kate is tough. Now, if you recall, on the day of the engagement, they were interviewed, and she started to get into the fact that he dumped her. They had what I think is now called a break.
Yeah.
And he said, no, we don't want to go there. We don't want to go. But she was going to address that problem in front of the camera then.
Made her stronger.
We'll be talking about that, but if I can bring Jennie back in, I like the analogy actually that I came up with about the Queen Mother, because I see that steely resilience in her, and I wonder whether that is because of the very childhood things that she experienced, Jennie. Do you know what I mean? I think that set her up, didn't it?
I mean, she had a very rounded childhood, and I think it's important that it wasn't a classic middle-class upbringing. Yes, they did very well, and yes, she lived in a bigger house. I mean, that house, the manor house, the Bucklebury Manor House, is bigger than the house that she and William now have. But that solid background, and going to Amman, I think, and Jordan, and being educated with Japanese children, American children, and celebrating Ramadan as well as Christmas. She, it wasn't a very blinkered upper middle class upbringing. It was a rounded childhood,
and she was the
and I
oldest
think that's why
child
she thrived.
And I think the interesting thing for us all is that one of the things that you touched upon because of her upbringing, Robert, is that is a safety blanket, or rather normality for Prince William. It's often said that he spends as much time going to the Middletons for Sunday lunch, and they are full-on, hands-on grandparents, which is so different from what's come before. And when I look at that family dynamic, and when I look at how they are married, how they are with their kids, it absolutely, for me, is central to how she was brought up. And there were rumours before that didn't sit too well with Charles and other people. But it works, doesn't it? It
does work, and I think that with the Queen Mother, they all say that effectively, after the abdication crisis, the Queen Mother was the saviour of the royal family. We've had so much problems, really, with the royal family. I think this is where Kate's going to come into her own. And, we have a period with the King at the moment, which, maybe 10, 15 years. But the reality is she and William are the future, and she is in touch with what really matters. What I like about them, they're very much a team, and you see them out and they're working. Even just before he's about to make a speech, she's whispering in his ear. They're very tactile. They're always touching each other, reassuring each other, and they're great parents too. That's something to celebrate, and I think they give the royal family a new lease of life.
I think they're fantastic. I think she is absolutely great.